out.
And a good launch from the front row, but look at Herrin. He got out front.
He's going to go back around that paint again on the exit here, and he should hold Cameron Beaubier off.
Here we go to the drag race to the line as Josh Herrin behind the bubble and has enough to take the win. And with that, we have a new championship leader. Can Josh Herrin extend? We find out right now. We're excited for the MotoAmerica FIM North American Road Race Championship. This round is MotoAmerica Superbikes at Ridge Motorsports Park in our 4th round of 9 for 2025 here in Shelton, Washington at Ridge Motorsports Park as we are ready to get race number 2 of Superbikes going. And it has been a spectacular weekend, and each day has greeted us differently. And this one, it's a lot warmer and the sun is shining, and the tires are going to get nice and warm. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the broadcast booth. I'm Greg White, standing alongside 2-time national champ Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, new championship leader, but Josh Herrin yesterday, with all the pressure, got the job done.
Yeah, he always finds things to motivate himself. I heard in the pre-race, post-race press conference, first time in his career, he's won 3 Superbike races in a row. And let me tell you, Greg, he looks good for race 4. He got a great launch on his Ducati yesterday. See Beaubier and Gagne there, as we saw a little early action between Ashton Yates. That also took Hayden Gillum off track. Hayden didn't have the race he wanted. I expect more from him today. But it was these two guys out front. There was Herrin and Beaubier kind of going back and forth as far as kind of seeing who was going to be good where. But the 32, this was such a great surprise for, I think, everybody here to see Gagne just literally pushing up at the front after getting pole position. Bobby Fong is another player that I think will be good today as well. Beaubier made the shot there on Herrin. He felt that Josh was starting to get away, and then it almost looked like Beaubier was going to try to get away. You see Herrin took a shot there in turn 12, only to have Beaubier turn back up underneath him. This was about 2 laps to go. Very technical spot on the track where Herrin made that pass, and he was able to get through and hold off Beaubier for the win, with Gagne not that far behind, Greg, and finishing 3rd.
Yeah, so that 3rd consecutive win, really impressive for Josh Herrin, and the job he was able to do on a motorcycle that was moving around. But we've had 7 races in the books, Jay, and want to look at what has happened in this championship with the first 3 races, or first 4 races of the season, back to the last 3 races of the season. And you can see that 134 points to 131 points is the difference right now for Josh Herrin. And you know, when we look at this guy right here, Cameron Beaubier, he finished 2nd yesterday, Jason.
Yeah, and I was very fortunate this morning to go down and talk to Cameron and say, you know, he got to see a lot of Herrin in front of him yesterday. He gave me a little synopsis of things that he felt yesterday and hopefully things he's going to see today.
Yeah, I'm honestly really happy with how yesterday went, considering how practice and qualifying was going. Man, we were riding as hard as we could, but we were having some issues just getting the thing turned, and also on the front end with some chatter that we really haven't had before on this thing. So to be honest, I was just happy that I was able to fight for the win. You know, there was a point there where I thought Josh was gone. He rode away about a second up the road, and I was able to claw him back. It's going to be another tough day, but we made a couple changes this morning. I'm sure everyone else has made a couple improvements too, so it's going to be tough.
Yeah, so less chatter and trying to get that bike to turn a little bit better is important for the number 6 of Cameron Beaubier. But Jay, another rider who's looking to do better is the number 32 of Jake Gagne.
Yeah, and again, I ran over to his tent this morning. It's great to see another Superbike champion battling for the championship. He's getting healthy. I went and asked him some thoughts that he might be able to do with the Yamaha to get himself in front of those 2 guys from yesterday.
Yeah, those guys were strong in different areas than the Yamaha too. Every bike kind of has its own thing, but I was on the limit just trying to run there, you know, so there wasn't a whole lot I could do to try to get that little bit closer. But if we can kind of find a little bit of grip in that second half of the race when the tires are going off a little, that's when I struggled most. So I think we'll see if we can make a run at those guys, try to get a bad start and just go for it.
And that grip he's talking about, of course, the rear end of the motorcycle, and he is looking to get this one done. But the 3rd member of our broadcast team is down there in the mix. It's Jamie Howe with Bobby Fong.
And yesterday, Greg, we saw Bobby Fong run his best laps of the weekend, able to race himself from the 8th place starting position that we see him in on the grid all the way up to a 4th place finish. And Bobby, you know this bike has just gotten better and better and better. What is your hope for the race today?
Honestly, just to get a clean start and try to make my way up to the front to these guys. We feel really good in the middle of the end of the race, and but I need to be closer. You can't do too much if you're starting back here. I made it hard for myself and the Attack Performance crew, but want to do our best and try to charge and be smart.
See if he can get on the podium. He's already been on the podium 4 times this season. Can he do it again? You know, another interesting story that developed in qualifying. Hayden Gillum was able to qualify the number 69 Honda 4th. That means that for the first time in the modern history of Superbikes, we have 5 different manufacturers in the top 5 on the Superbike grid. Hayden, yesterday you were not able to capitalize on that, had an incident unfortunately early on. How do you clean up some of that for the race today?
Well, hopefully I can get through turn 1 without getting hit. So we'll start there, get a good start, and yeah, we'll see. So far, I think the most laps I've done in a row is like 11. So we'll see what the tires are doing. I mean, obviously it's heating up a little bit here today, so we should be good. But I don't know. I just got to get off the line, see if I can run with these guys, and if not, kind of just figure out where I slot in. And we've made a bunch of changes to the bike from yesterday, so hopefully we're going in the right direction.
All right, we'll see how it all unfolds. It's going to be good either way, Greg.
Certainly, and of course, some representative for HRC, Honda Racing Corporation, here to work on that program. Very exciting times. Here's a look at Ridge Motorsports Park. 2.47 miles, got 9 lefts, 7 rights. You have the front straightaway. It's low elevation. You take a turn 2, you go up the hill, and a lot of the racing happens up and down on the top of the ridge. By the time we get to 13, we're down, and you got to head to start-finish line. It's a ton of racing. But Jason Pridmore, take us through a little bit of an Insta360 track lap here.
Yeah, and we are going to jump on board with Benjamin Smith. I love it. This is that section you're talking about, Greg. Turn 2, and then it gets very light up over the top of turn 3 here, and another quick left. It's a long left, turns 4 and 5. You're going to take them as one big constant corner. They're going to take you down a straight, then you're going to get to turn 6. A lot of different ways you can take it. You can see Benjamin just in the middle of this turn, just releasing the inside of that curbing, and then he's going to run it straight down into turn 7. This is going to be the 8, 9, 10 section. On these bikes, you're wide open, Greg, so you get over that curbing on the right that you saw Benjamin roll over. At this point now, you let the bike swing out, release that lever, late apex at turn 11 just a little bit, and then you're off to turn 12, and then you eventually get to the waterfall at the end of the lap.
Fantastic road course. Can't wait to see race get underway. As the number 1 plate, Josh Herrin has got his first hat trick. He's looking to make it 4 in a row. Off of a good start, can he get it done? We'll see when we get back.
MotoAmerica Superbike is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series, and by NXT Bets. Play MotoAmerica for cash. Multiple race classes live on top sportsbook and DFS platforms all season long.
Here's the crew from Discount Moto Gear in Orange County, California, hosting a MotoAmerica viewing party for customers and MotoAmerica fans. They gathered to watch MotoAmerica live plus all of Saturday, including the Superbike and Super Hooligans races. And Rog, they've been able to see some good racing here this week.
Yeah, it's been really good racing, and what a great way to be able to watch these races is go there with your buddies and check it out and do a little friendly banter. You know, every one of those guys got their own rider that they like and they get to cheer for.
Well, let's look at this race as well. Who's the rider that you like in this one?
Well, I just want to see with Hayden Gillum on the Honda, just the strong weekend they've had, see if they can finish it off. Yesterday's race, unfortunately, you know, his off the start, his race was run. So I want to see if he can, and I think he can. It'd be great for Honda and him to have a really good finish.
Yeah, as Jamie said, 5 different manufacturers up there in the top 5 spots from qualifying. Let's see what Hayden Gillum on that 69 Honda is able to do in this race as we gear up towards 1 minute until the bikes are actually getting ready to do their warm-up lap. And on that front row, the great Jake Gagne able to have a podium yesterday, but he'll be chasing a little bit more in this one. Josh Herrin and Cameron Beaubier gave us a classic yesterday, Rog.
Yeah, and Gagne in the interview before the race, it sounds like he's going to be a little more aggressive today. So we'll see. He might take his shots early, and from there we'll see track conditions. The track a couple races before this was a little bit slower with the heat up. The grip's a little bit down, so it's going to be something different for these guys.
Yeah, the heat's come up as the day has progressed, and obviously yesterday we were able to see that used tyre for Josh Herrin very strong at the end of the race to be able to come through on Cam Beaubier to take the race win. As the riders now get ready for their warm-up lap to the grid, we'll have 16 laps of Superbike action here at the Ridge Motorsports Park, and the grid's been cleared, and Jake Gagne is going to lead the field away on their warm-up lap to the grid as everyone now makes their way down towards turn 1, and you can see just how tight it is into turn 1. And Rog, this opening corner we saw yesterday, Ashton Yates having a crash, and big impact then for Hayden Gillam's race.
Yeah, and big part of the race is trying to make it through that chicane and try not to get caught up in another rider's mistake. And yesterday we seen that happen. So today, that's why it's so important to, the better you qualify. We talk about that a lot in the race weekends. Is the less chance the further up the grid and you're going to get caught up in somebody else's mistake.
Yeah, and obviously if you're in that mid-pack, very easy for someone else's incident to be the one that causes your problems, and that's why at the front of the field for Gagne, considering he's been so fast all the way through this weekend in each session, he knows he only has to find that small bit of speed in the middle of the race to be able to go with those 2 race winners from yesterday, Josh Herrin and Cameron Beaubier. Top 2 in the championship standings. Herrin's been able to retake the lead in the standings, and over the course of the 16 laps we'll see if he's able to hold on to that as we go back to Greg White and Jason Pridmore to take us through the action.
They play MotoAmerica for cash. The Superbike and Supersport Series are now live on top sportbooks and DFS platforms. Scan the flow code or visit nxtbets.com/playma to see what's available in your location. Sign up, claim exclusive bonuses, and make your picks now. Take a look at the starting grid for Ridge Motorsports Park here in Shelton, Washington for our Superbike category. Jake Gagne, your pole sitter.
Then we're going to have Josh Herrin, Cam Beaubier, and on the front row. Then we have Gillum, Escalante, and Sean Dillon Kelly. Yates, Fong, Bryce Cornbow, Ben Smith, J.D. Beach, and Dion Campbell will round out row number 4. And then a little further back, Flinders, Pinkstaff, Waters, Lewis, Brian Pinkstaff, and Gianotto are going to round out the grid. So, no, Benjamin Smith didn't get the laps he needed yesterday. Hayden Gillam didn't get the laps that he needed yesterday. I'm hoping good things for both of them right off the bat. And I think what we really need, Greg, is we just need a good, clean turn 1, and then let these guys race from that point there. So that's what I'm going to be hoping for. Again, Ashton Yates didn't get all the laps, like quality laps he needed. He did get down into the 43s on that stock 1000 bike, which is very, very fast. But as Herrin makes a small adjustment.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And actually, speaking of Herrin, it's got to be concerning for the rest of the riders if he gets another good start. So 113-degree track temperature Fahrenheit. That's good. That's kind of cooking the tires a little bit. So we'll see how long these 250 horsepower Superbikes are able to abuse these Dunlop tires. Superbike race number 2, Ridge Motorsports Park. And we're away racing, and it looks like the entire front row got a good launch. But look at the middle, the red bike, red leathers. Josh Herrin's going to lead us into turn number 1.
Yeah, there's a couple things already I like. Bobby Fong is right there. Bobby Fong this morning, Greg, was running very fast, consistent laps on very old tires. So for the 50 there, you see him slotting into 4th place. Much better start. You see SDK and the fluorescent yellow there runs up to the backside of his teammate Richie Escalante. For both the Suzuki riders, completely different setups, and they qualify the 10th apart. So let's see if they can get their heads down, try to go with this lead group, as you see Herrin already with just a small gap.
So Josh Herrin leads the way on his Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati. Tytler Cycles BMW. That's Cameron Beaubier. He was talking right there about that section of trying to get that BMW to hold a tighter line. And so at least on brand new tires on this lap number 1, he wasn't able to do that.
The bummer start from 4th on the grid is going to be Hayden. Hayden Gillam looks like he's back there about, what, Craig, 8th?
I think he might even be behind his teammate.
Behind Benjamin Smith. I think Hayden... Yeah, it's weird, but Ben Smith doing a nice job there, putting himself. There's Hayden Gillam, and you see Ashton Yates just behind him. But good for Benjamin Smith here, just running in front of Gillam. But Hayden's going to be a little bit bummed. Didn't see if he maybe got boxed out a little bit there into turn number 1. But these guys, it's good to see everybody get through that turn 1 clean.
Yeah, and talking to Hayden Gillam about the setup of the motorcycle, he mentioned it in his interview with Jamie, that part of what they're doing is they shortened up the wheelbase of the motorcycle, but he hasn't had a lot of time to figure it out. So he's got to sort it out. If there's a rider that can figure it out on bike, it's going to be Hayden Gillam. So we'll see if he can settle into that pace. Is the number 69 on that Real Steel Honda CBR 1000 RR-RSP. All right, so fastest lap off the start goes to Bobby Fong, a 1:43.0 back in 4th place. So for the number 50 Fong, he definitely got a better start.
I mean, a 43 flat from a standing start is fast. So again, you can see everything kind of settling down just a little bit more here. I like what I see out of SDK there, because I talked to him and he was just actually laughing about things. He said, you know, I didn't have the best Road America. Oh, as Bobby looked like he just went, I thought he was going a little bit wide. Escalante with a ton of like entry roll speed into there as Bobby is trying to get that attack Yamaha hooked up. But I talked to STK and he said, you know, my confidence, even though it was down a little bit after Road America result-wise, my pace was there. He felt like coming to the ridge was going to be right up in the front. And yesterday it just didn't pan out that way. So you see him here. This is a battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th between Fong, Escalante, and Sean Dillon Kelly.
Bobby Fong in the attack performance, progressive Yamaha. That's the R1. They had an update to that motorcycle the end of last season. That's why you see the aero package, the wings on the front of that Yamaha R1. The Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki's on that aging GSX-R 1000R. Still a very capable motorcycle, especially when it comes to the torque characteristics of the engine. And talking with the crew, they were looking at the possibility of adjusting some of that power. And then we have Ryder down.
Yeah, just coming down that water slide there. Just couldn't tell.
Is that Ashton Yates, maybe?
I just couldn't tell. But
Okay.
I did notice that Hayden Gillum got through on Benjamin Smith. And boy, good call, Greg. Ashton Yates from the drone, Greg. Nice work.
Thanks.
Yeah, bummer for Ashton, though. Real bummer.
Yeah, he's been putting in some fantastic rides this
really
season. Has the number 27 on the Jones Honda CBR 1000 RR. So fastest lap of the race goes to Cameron Beaubier, number 6, by the way, a 140.0, but that's only 0.2 of a second quicker than our race leader, Josh Herrin, as all the riders put in lap times. But for Jake Gagne, he goes 140.0 as well. So early days, as the 32 mentioned, new tires, how well it's looking. Yeah, Jason, all eyes on the 69 right now of Hayden Gillum.
Serious pace, 40.8. So you had the first 3 riders all in the 40s. The only other guy in the 40s was the one on that number 69 Honda, Hayden Gillum. He's caught this group battling for 4th very quickly. So, you know, he's on those brand new tires as everybody else, but he's making them work. And he felt confident today, even though, you know, yesterday's race didn't go exactly the way he needed it to go. But he looks pretty confident on that bike.
And yet for Hayden Gillum, I talked to him about his motorcycle because we know that this is a new program. They're building that basically stock 1000 spec machine into a Superbike. And so they were able to get that new Suter swing arm during the Road America round. And so this bike is identical to what he had. So the fact that they rolled it off the truck and he was like 3rd fastest in the sessions and was able to put it on row number 2 in 4th place gave them a ton of information and a lot of confidence as the setup of this motorcycle, but they're still waiting for more parts. So the continuation of the development of this particular CBR 1000 continues on, where you have a couple of bikes in front of them, really well sorted. Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki's of the number 54 of Richie Escalante and number 40 Sean Dillon Kelly.
And let's not forget Bobby Fong too. So I mean, the thing is, Greg, is that for what he's doing on that bike at the moment, I think this was a place that he probably had circled on his calendar. He's had some great results here, has Hayden Gillum in the past.
Yeah, he likes it.
I think for Bobby Fong too, you got to remember, Bobby really comes good from midway on in these races. And sometimes you can have so much grip early that you can't really ride the bike the way you want to ride it. And now with the heat coming up and all those kind of things, I'm looking at Bobby Fong's lap times, 41.4. This morning it was a little bit cooler and he was on old tires and he was doing just a string of low 41s. So he's not really capable or maybe able to take full advantage of brand new tires right now. Sometimes when you have a brand new set of tires on, especially the rear, it can cause some chatter through the bike, and he might be experiencing that just a little bit because I'm not used to seeing him fall back this quickly.
Jamie.
Bobby Fong being able to race there in that 4th position, it plays into the strategy that he had for himself for the early laps of the race, was really just to get that good start, move himself up from the bad qualifying position. He had a lot of confidence after the warm-up session this morning. You mentioned the fact that he went out on old tires, was able to do some pretty solid lap times. The reason the team took that approach was because he didn't have any long runs that were really applicable before the race yesterday, so they needed just a little bit more information. With the heat now on the racetrack, he said the bike feels amazing. He's ready to just go out there, see if he can get another podium result.
Wow,
Yeah,
that was classy there by Escalante, wasn't it?
Yeah, it certainly was. And for Bobby Fong, it's slipping through his fingers at the moment, but we'll see.
Yeah,
as
he's
Bobby
shaking
has a
his
little
head.
shake of his head. Yeah, so there's something going on there, but a nice pass from Richie Escalante. to take over that 4th position.
And you could really see Richie setting that up early. He kind of held on to that right-hander in the middle of the waterfall there, and as Bobby's let the momentum push him out in the last left-hander, Escalante was able to turn it up underneath him. So Escalante with a really good move. How about Benjamin Smith keeping these 4 guys in check at the moment with a minute 41.6 for the young man there, and really good job for him. I think he had a mechanical yesterday, Greg. We saw him pull in after about 2 laps. So between Hayden Gillum and Benjamin Smith, they didn't really get all of their laps at all yesterday. So they're kind of going on what would be race 1 setup, where everybody else has been able to make that jump overnight and continue their progress forward. So you see this battle for the lead. It looks a lot like yesterday right now. These guys are still all in the minute 40 range, mid-minute 40s. And Herrin's still already protected that inside a little bit, isn't he?
I think it's just the line he likes.
Yeah.
And that's part of what Cameron Beaubier was talking about.
Now, you see Bobby lost the front at the top of the hill, so that probably didn't give him a lot of confidence tipping into the right. You saw Escalante just hold on to that right-hander a little bit, and then he was able to do it. And here you're going to see Bobby shaking his head, the second bike on your screen. So there's just something, he's not able to take advantage of brand new tires. And I think that's going to be very frustrating. As a rider, you go out on old tires in the morning, you run really competitive lap times, you think, okay, I'm going to find some time for the race, and then it just doesn't seem like those times are coming to Bobby right now very easily.
140.7 for your race leader, Josh Herrin, the number 1 on the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati. And Jay, I went down this morning and talked to Simone. You know, we saw Josh Herrin's bike moving around a lot.
Benjamin Smith in the background. Sorry about that.
I saw that as well. But there he is down in the chicane. Unfortunately for Benjamin Smith, this really bright young talent on the Flow for Law SBU Racing Yamaha R1. He's going to rush across the racetrack here and go get his motorcycle. It's a really awkward place to go down there. So hopefully he'll be able to rejoin the race and get more data.
Yeah, we've seen that accident happen a few times this weekend, just over some bumps, but you were talking about Simone and Ducati.
Yeah, so back to the number 1 plate. When I talked to Simone, the crew chief for Josh Herrin this morning, and I asked him about the bike moving around late in the race and asked him about onboard controls. So basically there are 3 setups that they have for Josh Herrin when it comes to a couple of different things. You have traction control settings that he can add during the race. There's also engine braking strategies. So there's Simone on the left part of your screen. So when talking with him, he was kind of going over all the options that Josh has. And he says one of the things that he really enjoys about Josh is going to utilize everything that they give him electronically to use during the course of the race. And when they go back and look at the data, they can see exactly to the point where Josh decided to change the different settings to give him more of what he needs.
Yeah.
And so that enables them to work on the setup this morning to refine the bike even further.
And, you know, to your point even further, that just shows the trust that they not only have in the rider, but the rider has in the team. And that's why you see 3 wins in a row. And you didn't see any panic from anybody on this team at the beginning of the year when they were getting the results that they were getting, those 4th, 5th, or 6th. And Josh is coming off and going, hey, it's okay. We're fine. These ones we've kind of historically not been that great at. Let's not panic. And now you're seeing what that's like, as he's done really well at MotoAmerica, and he's doing really good here at the Ridge.
You see right part of your screen, we're looking at top speed, so that's fastest so far. And how about that? 159 for Herrin, Beach, Gagne. Pretty impressive. That speed trap is just past start finish line, right as the riders would be rolling off the throttle to grab the brakes. So that's our fastest part of the racetrack as we measure it.
And you look at this gap he's starting to string out here, and some people at home might wonder, well, those mile an hours don't seem very fast. The amount of acceleration out of the last corner to that speed trap there that you saw, this is not a big long straightaway. So 160 mile an hour almost. And by the way, JD Beach on a stock 1000 bike is incredibly quick, as Hayden Gillum has made his way through, not only on Bobby Fong, but SDK, even though on our screen on the left-hand side, you see Sean Dillon Kelly is in 5th. Actually, Hayden Gillum has got through on him. Hayden went 41.6 that last time by Escalante in 4th at a 41.1. So you can see he's just up the road a bit from these guys now. And we'll see if Hayden can do anything with the gap to Escalante.
Yeah, we talked about his crash yesterday in the race, and Hayden just said, look, I just lost the front. Just got a little bit too happy with the brake lever, and those things happen. So he puts that behind him, and now we're all eyes forward because, you know, it's been a really interesting weekend to see who's here from Honda. Here's a look at the pass, Jay.
Sean got into turn 6 a little bit wide, and you can see he just got out there a little bit too far, so he had to stay off throttle at full lean, just trying to gather that bike back up. And Gillum was able to just kind of carve his way up underneath STK there, so made it relatively easy. And Gillum right now is going to put his head down, and we'll keep an eye on these splits, Will Greg and I, to see if Gillum starts to close that gap down to Escalante at all. Last time he lost a couple of tenths to Richie Escalante, and we'll see what he does on this first split as they're getting ready to go through that right now, Greg. 33.2 from Richie Escalante, 33.1 from Hayden Gillum.
There you go. And Herrin, by the way, goes fastest top speed of the race so far at 160.6, pushing his own air, and the gap has grown now to 1.3 out front. Left part of your screen is our scoring pylon. You can keep track of your favorite rider. We can see Bobby Fong, who had an early good start, shuffled back to 7th place. JD Beach, the top rider that's in our series on the stock 1000 machine. So it's a stock 1000 spec machine for the 95. He's in our Superbike Cup program, and he's leading that championship. So a good look at Jiggy Dog and what he's doing right now as the teammate on the Real Steel Honda to Hayden Gillum. Jamie?
Talking to JD after the race yesterday, he was really surprised by an issue that kind of unfolded, was the fact that they really struggled with grip on the rear tire. And that wasn't something that they had an issue with over the course of the weekend. So they were scratching their heads a little bit. He said about after lap 5, he really just couldn't fight anymore. He couldn't get any grip to push with. And so you look at, now we're on, what are we? We have 8 laps remaining in this race. So he's been able to take this a lot further today. He's going to be a lot happier after this one.
Yeah, and after this one, actually, they're sticking around, Jason. They're going to be here Monday and Tuesday. There's some track day here, so the Real Steel Honda team is going to stay here, and they're going to continue to test as they develop those motorcycles, both in stock 1000 trim, as we see with JD Beach, and Superbike trim with Hayden Gillum in 5th place.
Hey, great to see Bryce Kornbaugh there. Battling up front too. I understand, Greg, he's on a bit of a hybrid Superbike right now, and you can see, boy, he was able to carve that up as JD got into turn 2 just a little bit wide. Bryce looking for a way through, and just up in the front of them is Bobby Fong. So yeah, Bobby just a little bit off, 44.4 for Bobby that last time by, so something's not quite right. But Bryce is itching to get by a stock 1000 competitor that he races with in stock 1000s. It looks like he carves his way. I have seen that move live on track from Bryce. I've been on the track, and he is able to get that R1 to do things I've not really seen other R1s be able to do. And he just motors around the inside of JD Beach there through that long radius turn 6. And he's going to have his head down now and try to go after Bobby Fong.
To think about what Bryce Kornbaugh is able to do, he's got his entire team here.
Yeah.
And he runs that team, plus he's able to put his racer hat on, and the 17 is able to get the job done here in 8th place in Superbike is really impressive. Now Josh Herrin has really gotten to a 2-second lead over Cameron Beaubier, 141.1. So let's see what happens when they hit start finish line here. So 140.9 for Herrin, a 141.2, and Gagne a couple tenths off that at a 141.5. So really, for Cameron Beaubier, who yesterday was happy coming out with 20 points.
He's going to be happy today with 20 points too,
yeah,
I think.
Unless this guy right here on the Attack Performance Progressive Yamaha, Jake Gagne, he talked about trying to find some grip later on in the race. This is kind of that point. So we have 6.5 laps to go in this race. So this is the later part of the race. We'll see if Gagne is able to maintain this pace or if his performance is going to drop off again. And here comes Bobby Fong now into the clutches of Kornbaugh and JD Beach.
Yeah, he's just got a real problem, this Bobby, right now. So it's something that's, you know, I couldn't even begin to speculate what it could be, but I reckon Bryce and JD are going to make pretty quick work of Bobby, unfortunately, for the number 50. So I really did feel like things were going to really gel for Bobby here. He has had such a good year, Greg, and he's been up front and a lot of things. And there goes Bryce again, just rolling up the inside of Bobby Fong. And JD is probably going to do something similar here shortly if he's capable on Bobby. So for Bryce, it's a good run. Gets himself up into 7th place at the moment. But yeah, up in that front, Greg, I mean, Josh is really the only one right now still in that minute 40 bracket, minute 40.9. These guys here, just as a reference, Bryce and JD, they both came through that last time in like 43.0, 43.5s.
Richard Stamboli, crew chief for Bobby Fong, looking on. And back to the computer he goes, and to the timing and scoring screen. So we know what Bobby's capable of, and we know how much grit and determination he has as a rider. So whatever's going on board, he's trying to get it sorted out right now. And JD Beach just trying to find a way around him. That's a full-blown factory Superbike effort against a stock 1000 machine as Kornbaugh goes.
Yeah, he must have made a mistake at the top of the hill, Bryce, because he had a gap, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
And then he was way off the inside there, but there goes Kornbaugh onto the front straightaway with a nice drive. All the while, Josh Herrin now with a 2.5 second lead over Cameron Beaubier. And Beaubier has a 1.5 second lead over Gagne. And then Richie Escalante in 4th, Hayden Gillum in 5th. So Jamie talked about having 5 different manufacturers, the top 5 positions. We're in the same boat. We have Ducati from BMW, from Yamaha, from Suzuki, from Honda in this race. Pretty incredible.
Yeah, and then when you think about it, the first one then again is another Suzuki. So SDK with a 41.1 was his best lap of the day. And Escalante's best lap, 41.1. 2 seconds now between Escalante and this guy, Hayden Gillum. Hayden's kind of closing that gap down, Greg, ever so slightly. That said, it is ever so slightly. I think it was up to 2.7 earlier. Gillum's got his head down trying to try to reach back into Escalante there.
And don't forget, Hayden told us that the most laps he's had in a row was 11. And even when he did that, the sun wasn't out. The cloud cover was there. So now he's getting into unknown territory with how this motorcycle reacts with the Dunlop tires. So this is critical information for Hayden Gillum to be getting as we continue to move forward with this program in the course of the Superbike season.
You know, and Hayden is a top Superbike rider, and they'll continue to work on this motorcycle and make tweaks and try to get it better. You know, they're halfway through this year. They're still getting new bits and things for the bike. They're testing quite a bit at Mid-Ohio and so on, and trying to continue to get this bike to evolve a little bit. And, you know, for my money, they got the right guy on the bike to help with the development, and a proven race winner, championship contenders. It looks like STK goes straight through on that chicane, didn't quite make it through. So he'll let a little time pass so he doesn't get any penalties. He's got a big gap over the next group. He had 13.5 seconds over Bryce. And JD Beach did end up, Greg, getting past Bobby Fong as well.
All right, so Herrin now with a 3-second gap over Beaubier. Just under 5 laps to go in this Superbike race number 2 as we look at the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki of Richie Escalante. And Jason, he
so
comes
positive,
up.
isn't he,
yeah,
this guy?
and he loves this racetrack. We know how he used to race this racetrack when he was in the super sport category. But Escalante, who's, you know, really coming off of an injury from not too long ago, we oftentimes forget about it. But Escalante is having a good run today, Jamie, in 4th place.
And for the first time this season, the team really feels like they were able to unload from the truck for that first practice session on Friday with something that they could potentially even take out for the first race of the weekend. So it's allowed them to make just small changes from session to session to session and really start to dial in on something that's comfortable for Richie. And you can just see the confidence that he has. Talking to him this afternoon, he said it's the best the bike has felt all season long. It's really given him a lot of motivation going forward.
And that's really what it's all about. You know, if a team can provide the tools for the rider to maximize the speed they have inside them, that's when things really start to click. And as we look forward to the next couple races that we have, Jay, we have WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, Virginia International Raceway, Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course coming up. I see, from my novice perspective, SDK's coming in.
So he's obviously got a problem, huh?
Similar characteristics on racetrack. Yeah, it's hard to say if he couldn't get the bike stopped or... So, unfortunately for the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki rider, Sean Dillon Kelly, definitely a fan favorite. SDK 40 has got to pull it in, and it looks like, at least for the moment, with 3.5 laps to go, that his race is done.
So, you know, Greg, when we talk about the season, I think that when we go to like a place like MotoAmerica in Wisconsin, you go there and Cameron's won, what, 11 races, I think, that we had talked about? He'd won 11 races. The problem is that this guy doesn't really care, and he goes out and does the double in Wisconsin and just comes into here with a whole heap of momentum. And it's a funny thing, in any kind of sport, Greg, momentum does play a part. And when you're gelling the way you are right now with bike and team and all that stuff, you know, and what this is going to do is, you know, speaking with Cameron Beaubier this morning. In fact, Josh was probably the only Superbike rider I never really got to this morning. And, you know, Beaubier is going to Laguna. I think he'll be wanting to stop this little run because this guy right now is just on rails, and he just makes it look easy no matter what. And he makes adjustments as well while he rides. Saw him doing that yesterday in this particular section. And there's Cam there. Jake Gagne's not still that far behind. I think Jake's only, what is he? Yeah, he's only 1.3 behind Beaubier. Talking to Beaubier, he said, you know, I'm going to be happy with 2 second places, which you just never hear. And that's just a characteristic of the BMW here. Just is a handful, I think, for him around kind of a short little bulldog type of circuit. And for this guy, I think, for Gagne, he's just been struggling a little bit with some grip and some chatter, and they've worked on that. But I think it's still a positive weekend for him, getting a pole position and so on and going forward.
So Sean Dillon Kelly out of this race. Jamie, do you have an update?
Well, he continues to sit on the bike, leaving the helmet and the gloves on. The team working on the chain of this motorcycle. It seemed to have just stretched out a lot. Really weird issues that they've been struggling with so far. As crew chief Jeremy Toy even just jokingly said, you know, with everything that's happened so far, I wouldn't be surprised if a pterodactyl came out of the sky after this one. So they're just looking to put the race behind them.
Yeah, I think so. And of course, every lap makes a difference. So it looks like they're going to send him back out on the racetrack, and he'll be able to get at least a couple more laps and more data for the team, which is important. Now, Jay, going back to talking about the Herrin-Beaubier battle as we, look forward to a couple extra laps here in this race. But WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, home race for both of these riders.
Correct.
Cameron Beaubier lives just not too far up the road, and he's going to have family there and fans there. And of course, we know the amount of people that show up for Josh Herrin. My guess is with the 2 new twins, possibly you're going to see his wife, his son, and the new twins up at the racetrack as well. And that's definitely going to put a smile on Herrin's face. So we know that emotions are a huge part of a racer going fast. So I would say it's probably pretty equal between Herrin and Beaubier when we go back to California.
It's really been an ebb and flow, hasn't it, at the beginning of the year? I mean, Josh was almost 40 points back, and now he's going to claw his way to, 8 points up, I think we saw on our screen just now. And so they've both kind of had their little bad results, if you will. Obviously, Cameron tipping off at Road America in race 2 didn't help his cause. He gave a bunch of points back there. And I think that really, Greg, when you think about it, this guy here on your screen, he's won championships, a lot of championships, obviously, a lot of races. And I think at this race weekend here, he was thinking to himself, I'm not going to hemorrhage a bunch of points. Last year when he came in here, he was injured.
Yeah.
He probably almost shouldn't even have been riding. And then on top of that, we threw rain on him. If you remember, right before the start of the last year's race 1, it starts raining, and he had a very sensitive heel that he had broke at Road America previous. So I think that you learn from your mistakes as you get older, and Beaubier did that. And then you look back at Gagne and talking with him, always super relaxed. You speak with him. He talks with, he talks with a lot of respect to his competitors. He's been motocrossing a lot. He's been doing a lot of things. He told me, he said his arm is actually a lot better. It's just weak, and that's what he's trying to get. Is just get that strength back. And who knows? We might have this guy in the last third of the season start to move away and start winning races too, which will be great for us.
So Josh Herrin coming down the waterfall for the penultimate time in this race. When he comes across the start-finish line, he's going to see that white flag. And this is the part where Josh Herrin, I think, has a lot of fun. But I'll tell you what, the bike definitely does this late in the race, even though he's not having to push maybe as hard as he did in race number 1. It looks a lot better.
It's incredible. Yeah, I mean, it just,
look at the way it drives forward.
Just gels. And it's not moving around as much as yesterday. And Greg, he still did a 41.3 that last lap. It's not like he's just kind of hanging around. It's he really broke these guys mid-race by keeping himself in those mid-40s. Mid to high 40 range, and right now he's at 41.3, and at 41.3 this stage yesterday, the bike was moving around quite a bit, and right now you can tell that bike is not moving around hardly at all. It just looks like it's on rails.
So Josh Herrin on the last lap of the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati Panigale V4R, a 141.3 on the penultimate lap for him, managing a 4.9 second lead, and this one is going to put smiles on this Californian's face. And there's his championship rival, who's given away 5 points in this one, as Herrin. Boy, Jay, I mean, you just look at it, and the job that they were able to do, just keep chipping away at it. And I think this also just kind of plays into the fact that if you just keep with the same team, that's a positive team, and you keep with the same motorcycle, just like Beaubier, this is the 2024 version. of this motorcycle that you keep building data and confidence, and these are the kind of results that happen. As a little look over his shoulder for Herrin on these last couple corners.
I just feel like Josh has matured a lot, like in a lot of different ways, you know, both on and off track, and he's taking his job very seriously. But man, just racking up another win, 4 in a row now for the #1.
Josh Herrin comes to the stripe, will take victory in race number 2 at Ridge Motorsports Park. Cameron Beaubier, his championship rival, 5 seconds adrift. Jake Gagne, the final spot on the podium. Richie Escalante comes back 1.9 seconds behind Gagne. A good result for him, as now there's
Max Flinders, Bobby Fong, and Dion Campbell all hooked in. So Bobby just trying to get this thing to the finish right now. He just wants this race to be over. And for Flinders and Dion, they're like, wait, that's Bobby Fong. They're trying to make something happen here. So, Max goes big time into there.
Full send for the 88. How do you like that move? Crash Bike Racing, Yamaha R1 rider going around Fong trying to grab all that glory. Bobby's like, I'm going to park this thing up the inside and just use the drive on the Attack Performance Progressive Yamaha to take me home. Flinders, hey, don't be too disappointed, Max. That was a heck of a toss there.
Yeah, he definitely gave it everything there. So,
dude, he came from Narnia. He was all the way.
Narnia, he did.
Good job. How about this guy? Great start, managed it. Here's a look at the race pace. That 40.255. His fastest lap of the race. Fastest lap of this race goes to Cameron Beaubier in lap number 2, a 140.026. But he was having to chase down Herrin because he got such a great start. Another couple corners for Herrin to get back to victory lane, where we'll talk to him. Four in a row for Josh Herrin here in the Superbike class. And Rog, this was a dominant performance by him.
Dominating today, and just impressive ride for Josh. He's riding so well right now. We talked so much about momentum, and he's just got everything going the right way, not only here on the track, but off the bike as well. And this is Josh. Gosh, it's just crazy to see somebody just take such a huge step in their riding that's already accomplished as much as he has, and then now he's the best that he's ever been.
Where do you see that improvement from?
I see it everywhere, really. You know, in the races and early on, and his racecraft is the big thing. I feel like he's really improved, and I mean, he's got a lot of wins now, and it's like everything. You know, when a rider works on things throughout their whole career, every year they work on things, and then eventually it all comes together, hopefully. And I think for Josh, all the stuff that he's worked on, you know, his whole career is finally, you know, all come together, and then been a dominant guy. 4 Superbike race wins in a row.
And obviously as well, up against Cam Beaubier, you're up against top-tier rider as well, and in that race, Beaubier just had no answers.
Yeah, just didn't have the pace, and you know, Beaubier's going to fight back. Cameron is leaving this track this year better off than he left last year. Of course, he doesn't want to be 5 seconds behind Josh, but Cameron's going to fight back. He's going to be tough when we head to Laguna.
And at least for Cam, it's only given up 10 points in the championship, still very much in contention. That's going to be an 8-point difference between Josh Herrin and Cameron Beaubier heading into the next round at Laguna. And when we go there in 2 weeks' time, Beaubier needs to answer back.
Yeah, and it's definitely a track that Beaubier can bounce back. And Cam's looked just a little uncomfortable this weekend. We've seen him on screen in practice and qualifying, and just been a little bit off. And for Beaubier to have an off weekend and you get 2 second places, pretty good weekend.
Yeah, it does show the job that he's able to do, and that the Tytler Cycle Racing squad are able to do with their BMW. And going into that next round, the one thing that won't happen there is what we saw here this weekend, where he had so much ground to make up on Friday. It looked like he had basically a full second to find on Herrin, and he did find much of that time over the weekend.
Yeah, and Laguna, I think he'll start a lot stronger for Beaubier. But, you know, Josh knows that as well, and he's going to do his homework the next couple weeks as well and try not to let that happen. And Jake Gagne, got to be a big boost for his confidence this weekend, kind of get his season going in the drive, fighting for wins and pole positions.
Yeah, big smiles down there for Gagne as well, with fastest times in sessions this week, qualifying on the front row of the grid, coming away with 2 podium finishes on his Yamaha as well in 3rd spot in this race. But Josh Herrin's the star of the show here at the Ridge Motorsports Park with his double race victory.
Welcome back. Oh, yeah, that's 4 in a row for Josh Herrin. What an accomplishment. What a season he's having after a solid, like, for him, we talked about it. It's been a really solid start to the year, and then all of a sudden he's just poured it on. And in this particular case, 5.1 seconds over Beaubier and Jake Gagne right there. But Richie Escalante, Jay, only 1.9 back from third place. There's some big improvements happening with Escalante and his team. Hayden Gillum, great result in 5th place. Hornbow, Beach, Fong, Flinders, and Dion Campbell. The reason why you see those red numbers, that's the old Superbike Cup happening. But let's get down to victory lane and Jamie Howe with our winner.
Now with 4 race wins in a row, Josh Herrin maintains the points lead in defense of this championship. And Josh, for you, the battle yesterday was a lot more intense. You were exhausted after that race. A lot bigger gap today. In terms of adjustments, what made the biggest difference today?
The guys just tried to make the bike a little bit easier for me to ride, get it to where I wasn't leaning so much on the front with what I was talking about my back yesterday. But for some reason yesterday I was just hating life, man. Even after the victory, it just didn't feel good just because I was just struggling. Today I woke up feeling good. So Bobby talked me into going to my Revive Plunge ice bath a couple times today, and I think that made a big difference. So just a huge shout out to my entire Warhorse HSBK racing team. This is, like I've talked about before, it's a dream team. I'm so proud to be here flying the flag for Ducati in the States. And like I said yesterday, I'm on the best bike in the grid, and today we showed that. So thank you to my team. Thank you to Simone, Danny, Max, Bobby, everybody that's involved, Hong. It's a huge team effort, and I really appreciate it. So happy to be going to Laguna Seca coming up here, home crowd, home race. Gonna have a lot of fun there, and hopefully we can get the dub there.
Congratulations to Josh Herrin on another race win, moving over to 2nd place for Cameron Beaubier. And it was also a 2nd place finish for you yesterday. We talk about the window, the operating window for this bike. The heat today, what difference did that make?
Yeah, today was a tough race. I was expecting to give Josh a little bit more of a fight there at the end or towards the end of the race after yesterday, but that wasn't the case. He kicked our butts today. I can rest easy tonight, though, knowing that I laid it all out there. I was trying as hard as I could to keep up, but I was taking a little too much risk on the front for what we had today. But, man, I just want to give a shout-out to my Tytlers guys. They worked their butts off all weekend. We were swapping swing arms, making big changes to the front end, trying to get close to these guys because they were kicking our butts on Friday and Saturday morning. And we found something. We improved every day. So that's a positive. We're going to one of my favorite places, Laguna Seca. The whole family and all the friends are coming out. So it's going to be a really fun weekend. And, yeah, stoked to wrap up the weekend with two second places. And shout out to Bell, Alpine Stars, and Manabella for keeping us safe out here, everyone that came out, and we'll see you at Laguna.
And we're all looking forward to that battle continuing on in just a couple weeks' time. Congratulations, another podium finish. Jake Gagne also with another podium finish, who was our pole sitter for the first time this weekend since back in 2023. And Jake, for you to carry some momentum now going forward, is this a turning point?
Yeah, I sure hope so. I mean, to have just to be closer to the front was good. Man, Josh was hauling today. I think none of us, he was gone, and my only hope was to try to run with Cam for a little while, but he was on a good pace too. And again, hats off to the Attack Performance Progressive Yamaha. These guys are working hard, and I want to give the results they deserve, and we're kind of steadily getting there. And the bike's capable. I just gotta kind of figure out how to make it happen. And a couple thirds, a pole, man, I'll take it. We want to run with these guys. We want to run at the front. But, yeah, again, hats off to the crew. Hats off to all the fans here. Love coming to this place and being this part of the country. So we'll be rolling on to Laguna and try to keep on fighting forward.
Congratulations on another podium finish.
Oh, yeah, and that's going to be really fun when we get to WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. But we're still here at Ridge Motorsports Park, and our coverage of Superbike race number 2 will continue after this short break.
Rog, we've heard from our podium finishers there, but Richie Escalante on that last lap was putting some pressure on Jake Gagne as well, trying to close down that final step of the podium. Good performance here by Richie.
Yeah, good performance by Richie and that Suzuki. That's something they can really build on there. And we were watching the lap times through the middle of that race, and he was doing the same lap times as Beaubier and Gagne, and was able to be a little bit quicker toward the end. So for Richie, what a great ride for him. He mentioned in the previous show on Friday morning he wants to start the weekends a little bit stronger, and he did that this weekend, and you can kind of see what it did.
Yeah, and if you're able to start strong, you're able to keep that form going all the way through. And we see Cameron Beaubier just making his way onto the podium. Shows the progress and the steps that can be made through a weekend. Hayden Gillam able to come away with a top 5 finish, and that was an important milestone for him and for the Real Steel Honda squad.
Yeah, and he get to ride with those guys the first couple laps of the races and knows where they can improve. But I think a top 5 finish for Hayden, and just the weekend they've had in general being competitive. One thing that kind of hurts Hayden was that crash yesterday, not getting the full race data to see what the tire was going to be like toward the end. But I think he's got to be happy with the top 5.
A little bit further down as well, Bobby Fong had his hands full during the course of that race. Looked like he had a few problems and ended up coming away with 8th place at the end. Obviously under attack from Max Flinders at the end of that race.
Just a tough weekend for Bobby. He has struggled all weekend, and qualifying didn't go very well. And then today coming into that problem in the race, and you can see he was just trying to hold on, and luckily he was able to get 8th place points. But there's a big points loss this weekend for him.
Yeah, it really was. And obviously the points battle at the top of the standings, we can see here on the podium for Josh Herrin, able to hold that 8-point advantage now over Cameron Beaubier. But as we get ready to move towards Laguna Seca in a couple of weeks, it's going to be interesting to see just who's able to go with them as well there. We heard from Jake Gagne about his excitement now at being able to feel that he's going to have that chance for the rest of the year.
And I think, for Josh and Cam, they're both riding really well. They're both on really good teams. And the same for Jake Gagne, just 3 really competitive guys that's really fast. And they're going to continue to elevate each other. And, it's not only the rider that, these Superbike guys win in the races, it's their team as well. And those 3 guys are on really good teams. And they're going to do some work, and they're going to try to improve from here to Laguna.
Yeah, and obviously for Laguna, it's a very different type of track compared to here at the Ridge. And this being a place where it's been about trying to almost force those mistakes on the riders around you. You've had to try and be a little bit less aggressive on the bike. Laguna is going to play more to the strengths of being able to try and get up and attack the riders around you. So that's going to be an interesting round in 2 weeks' time. But this round's all about Josh Herrin and the 50 points that he's been able to claim here at the Ridge with his double race victory at this round of the MotoAmerica Superbike Championship.
MotoAmerica Superbike is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series, and by NXT Bets. Play MotoAmerica for cash. Multiple race classes live on top sportsbook and DFS platforms all season long.
Highlights from Superbike race number 2 from Ridge Motorsports Park.
Wow. They got better starts today to Jake Gagne and Cam Beaubier, but it was the same guy leading into turn 1, and the first 3 were pretty much settled at this point. Bobby Fong put on an early charge, but he had some problems as we saw him kind of go back through the field. Escalante and SDK also took some challenges. You see Escalante go past Bobby Fong. That would be a scene that we would see as you see Bobby shaking his head, obviously with a problem today, sadly. And we saw SDK go by him here as they come down the hill. Hayden Gillam would take a shot. Hayden Gillam goes underneath Sean Dylan Kelly in that big long radius. Turn 6 on a way to what would be 5th place for him. But it was this guy, Greg, all by himself. 4 in a row, taking full stranglehold of this championship with, 4 straight wins. Josh Herrin on a roll.
Yeah, and he loves the fans coming out, and that's why he's pointing right at the camera, because he knows to his family as well. So, for Herrin, he gets to stand on the top step of the podium, and we get to come back to Shelton for more.
Rog, when you look at this weekend, obviously the Superbike class we've talked about, but the other classes, we've been able to see some really good racing here as well.
Yeah, and as part of the season, it's kind of what we want to see as fans, is that the championships are starting to get a little bit tighter as the middle of the season. There's really nobody really separating themselves in Superbike or Super Sport. Matthew Skolt's able to come here and get a double win and close that points down to 10. So right now going into Laguna, this is going to be a big shift in the season.
Yeah, and obviously in that Super Sport class, we've seen Skoltz and PJ Jacobson up there on the podium again in this race as well. Up there, 2 second-place finishes for Jacobson, good damage limitation, and that's what you need to do whenever you're trying to put those championships together.
And just the big improvements that PJ and his crew made throughout the weekend yesterday, 4 seconds off, and today kind of in that battle for for the win toward the end. So I think that's some stuff they can learn. But you have a tough weekend and you struggle a little bit and you still get 2 second places. That's got to be a good feeling for PJ. Last year he did the double at Laguna, and that's where we're headed next. So he's got to be pretty excited to get that Ducati there.
We saw Alessandro Di Mario out in the Super Sport class as well. Actually qualified on the 4th row of the grid if he had taken that start. But in the Twins Cup races, we were able to see him dominate proceedings here at the Ridge.
Yeah, and just dominated all weekend for him, and just some massive victories.
Next time out will be at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca on July 11th to 13th. So 2 weeks until we're back in action. Then VIR at the start of August, Mid-Ohio in the middle of August, and then COTA in September. And then the season finishes off the 26th to the 28th at New Jersey Motorsports Park, and that'll wrap up the action here in the MotoAmerica Championship this year. But a lot still to follow for the rest of this season. And Rog, when you look at this next group of races coming up, what are you looking forward to?
Well, it's hard not to look for Laguna, just the history, but I'm also excited to go back to VIR. Virginia is such a great track. Mid-Ohio, some great racing last year. It's just hard to really pick one. Circuit of the Americas there in Austin, and then New Jersey, just such a good track to finish out the year. I'm just excited. We're a little over halfway through, and now it's crunch time.
Obviously 5 rounds left for the Superbike and Super Sport classes, but the season coming to a close for some of the other classes. We saw for the Hooligans 2 rounds left in their championship. Corey West able to pick up a race win today. Really important for him to be able to put some pressure on his teammate Jake Lewis.
Yeah, and for Jake, he's had such a solid year, and they kind of slowed that momentum down of his today. So for Jake, wasn't as comfortable today, but was still able to get a good result and collect some points.
Yeah, really important to be able to do that. In the Build Train race class, we were able to see a hat-trick for Kira Knebel as she opens up a commanding lead in that championship as well. We'll be back in a couple of weeks for Laguna Seca, and Rog, Michael Hill as well, a big thank you for all that you've been able to bring through the course of this weekend. We'll go back to Greg White and Jason Pridmore to bring us to a close here at the Ridge Motorsports Park.
With our 8th race of the Superbike season done and dusted, here's Josh Herrin, an 8-point lead over Cameron Beaubier with another race. It's kind of an interesting year, JP, as we look at this point standings here with Gagne in 3rd. We start to really crank out these races week after week after week here towards the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely. And as we get ready to go to Laguna Seca, it's going to be a wild battle between these two. And I love the fact that Gagne is only 34 back. It's not done between the 3 of these guys just yet.
You'll definitely want to join us to see what happens for the remainder of the season. Our next one, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, 11th through the 13th. For Jamie and Jason, I'm Greg. See you then.
Michael Mountain.